Hi, my name is Marin and I'm a student at the Indigenous Community Legal Clinic, also known as the ICLC in downtown Vancouver. This video is part of the Live Law series on tenancy and will cover what the residential tenancy branch is, why you might want to access it, and how to access it. This video has been recorded on the unceded ancestral territory of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Stolo nations. So what is the residential tenancy branch? The Residential Tenancy Branch, otherwise known as the RTB, is a formal dispute resolution body that is responsible for resolving disputes between landlords and tenants. This means the RTB functions like a landlord-tenant court. Decisions made by arbitrators at the RTB are legally binding. Both landlords and tenants can apply for dispute resolution at the RTB when they can't resolve a problem related to tenancy. The RTB encourages landlords and tenants to try to resolve their disputes without accessing the RTB, but sometimes issues just can't be resolved. It's important to note that you do not need to have legal representation to access or apply to the RTB. It's not necessary to hire a lawyer, but you should if you can. You can also get assistance from a legal advocate. I'll talk more about resources available to you at the end of this video. Here are some examples of when a tenant might want to access the RTB. For one, they may want to dispute a notice to end tenancy or a rent increase. They may also want to force their landlord to make repairs to their rental unit or property. The tenant may also be seeking a monetary order for something that happened in the course of their tenancy. On the other hand, a landlord might want to use the RTB to claim money from a tenant for unpaid rent or damage to their unit, or to apply for an order of possession because a tenant hasn't moved out when they were supposed to. For more on what an order of possession is and the eviction process more generally, check out our other videos in this series on evictions. Now let's look a little closer at how the RTB process actually works. The first step is to consider whether you can resolve the issue by talking to your landlord. If negotiating doesn't work and you're certain you need to access dispute resolution, you can submit an application to the RTB. The deadline for applications to the RTB varies depending on what you need help resolving. For example, if you're trying to dispute a 10-day eviction notice, you'll need to submit your application within 5 days of receiving the notice. There is an ultimate deadline for disputes that are not related to evictions of 2 years from the end of the tenancy. This 2-year deadline is mostly for when people are trying to seek a monetary order. So, how do you submit an RTB application? Applications can be submitted online on the BC government website, or you can apply using a paper copy by mail or in person. Normally, there is an RTB office on the corner of Gore and Main, but is currently closed due to COVID-19. The type of paper form required depends on whether you are a landlord or a tenant and what type of application you are trying to submit. Generally, you'll use the standard dispute resolution form for most claims. As a tenant, you'll name yourself as the applicant, and you'll name your landlord as the respondent or the respondents. It costs $100 to file your application for dispute resolution. If you can demonstrate that you have a low income, you may be eligible for a fee waiver, but you need to apply for this separately. You might be asked for income information or to show your past tax returns. When you apply to the RTB, you will need to provide some type of evidence to support your application. Though the RTB encourages you to include your evidence alongside your application, you can also submit it later. Applicants have 14 days before their hearing to submit their evidence. That 14 days does not include the hearing date or the date that the evidence was filed. Your landlords or the respondents need to provide their evidence 7 days prior to the hearing. You should be mindful of the deadlines, but take your time to gather good evidence that can support your claim. Your evidence might include your tenancy agreement or communications between yourself and your landlord. It also might include photographs or videos, along with statements from witnesses who may have knowledge of the events. You want your evidence to be reliable, relevant, authentic, complete, and legible. Now, if you're using a paper application form, you'll need to drop off your application at a residential tenancy branch office or a Service BC office. You could also send in your application by mail. If applying online, you can submit your application, including your evidence and your payment, all through the online portal. Once you have submitted your application, the RTB will confirm whether the application package is complete. If it has everything it needs, the RTB will provide you with hearing documents that set out your date and time of the hearing, instructions on how to prepare for your hearing, and copies of the application and your submitted evidence. Once you receive these documents, you have 3 days to serve them on the respondent. This means you have to get the documents to the opposing party and ensure that they receive them. You can serve the documents either by delivering them in person or sending them by registered mail. If you serve the documents in person, you may want to bring a witness to you to witness the service. If sending by mail, keep your receipt and the confirmation of delivery as evidence. So the last step in the RTB process is to attend the hearing and present your case. The RTB hearings happen over teleconference. They're not recorded and you're not allowed to record it yourself. This means you should take good notes about the evidence provided by the respondents, otherwise known as your landlords. The RTB arbitrator will then make a decision on your case. Once a decision's made, you and the other party will be legally bound to follow the order. So, in sum, this video has covered what the RTB is, why you might want to access it, and how to submit an application if you do want to access it. As mentioned before, the RTB is intended for people to access without legal advice or assistance. However, we recommend finding some legal advice before accessing the RTB. If you would like to seek help with determining whether or not you should apply to the RTB, there are a few options available to you. If you are Indigenous and need assistance with assessing your situation or enforcing your rights against your landlord, please contact the Indigenous Community Legal Clinic. You can reach the clinic intake line by phone at 604-822-1311 or dropping into their office in Gastown that's located at 148 Alexander Street. If you are a tenant, you can access the Tenant Resource Advocacy Center, commonly known as TRAC. TRAC has a team of lawyers and legal advocates who can provide free legal representation to eligible tenants who live in British Columbia. You can start by looking on TRAC's website or calling their helpline at 604-255-0546. Further, you may also be able to qualify for free legal assistance and representation through the Residential Tenancy Program at Access Pro Bono. Depending on your issue, they may be able to help you file your application and they may be able to appear at the hearing with you. You can reach them online or by phone at 604-482-3195, extension 1500. Finally, UBC's Law Students Legal Advice Program provides free legal assistance for those who have a low income and who need help with a tenancy matter. You can reach them by calling 604-822-5791. Thanks for listening.
All Live Law project content is provided by law students for informational purposes only. It is not and should not be considered legal advice. We're not suggesting that you make legal decisions based on any content included as part of this project without seeking legal or other professional advice. We cannot guarantee the accuracy of our content. The information in this project may not apply to you if you don't live in British Columbia or if the law has changed.